As the temperature climbs around parts of the country and we are sweltering through the summer heat, health experts are warning us not to underestimate the risks. Dehydration, heat exhaustion and heat stroke can hit faster than maybe you realise, especially for children and the elderly and anyone working outdoors. So to break down the simple steps that can help keep you safe in the heat, I'm joined by Dr. Bryan Beatty, Chairman of General Practice New Zealand. Good morning to you. It's pretty early in the summer, but it is pretty hot. How concerned are you that we could have quite a few people suffering this summer?
Oh, look, every summer we see this, Nadine, where people get affected by the sun. We love the sun, we love the outdoors. But as you've quite rightly pointed out, there are some dangers. One, dehydration. Two, what we commonly call heat stroke, or getting too hot, the body can't cope with it. And heat stroke. And three, damage from the sun itself, so skin damage. So those are the three things that we really need to look out for, especially in the elderly and the young. So every year this is a concern. I think it's worth remembering there are risks involved with heat in the sun during summer.
When is it just you're a bit hot or overheating, and when does it become heat stroke? What are the signs that it's getting serious?
Look, it can be very subtle in the first phases of it. So often what people describe is maybe just feeling very fatigued, maybe a headache because there's a bit of dehydration starting to kick in as well. Nausea can be another feature. As things progress, it can become quite dangerous. And the symptoms that start to happen is a rapid pulse, breathing rapidly, disorientation or confusion, especially with the elderly. That's a particular group we get worried about because they can decompensate very quickly. And so confusion or just not knowing where they are or slightly confused is a very astute sign of heat stroke. More severe, if you go to the severe end, things like fits or seizures can start to happen. So there's a real spectrum that starts to occur. I think the big thing here is not to fall into that space, so to prevent it happening.
How much do we as Kiwis who are fond of an alcoholic beverage exacerbate that by drinking in the sun?
Yeah, look, I think drinking does a couple of things. One, it can worsen dehydration, okay? So that worsens the thing. So one of the pieces of advice, if you are drinking, alternate a drink with, say, a glass of water, so you keep your hydration levels up. I think the second thing that comes into play here is alcohol, as we drink it, tends to reduce our inhibitions or our guards so that we can end up being in the sun too long, overheating, getting sunburnt because we don't start to think about it because those inhibitions disappear. So alcohol on those two levels can actually be a problem during summer.
What about the wee bubbers? I've got an 8-month-old. This is his first summer. He's very pale, so I'm concerned about keeping him covered in sunscreen. But how do I ensure he doesn't overheat? Because he's probably not as good at regulating his temperature as an adult.
Well, you're absolutely right. So children can't regulate temperature as well as we can as adults, nor can they tell us when they're overheating often. So this is the other thing we've got to watch out for. So I think there's a couple of things that we do need to be careful about. Overheating at night. So if it's very warm at night, not covering our kids up with lots and lots of blankets and things, making sure that they are temperature, making sure they're drinking and feeding is really important. Now, a very astute sign that your child may be running into problems if their feeding starts to reduce. So that's a very clear sign. Or they're not peeing as much, not passing as much urine. So making sure that we are giving them plenty of fluids is really important. Not allowing them to overheat by putting too many clothes on or maybe covering them up like we would in winter at night. And the other thing I do want to mention, and this is incredibly important, never, ever leave your child in a locked car. This happens periodically every year or two. Cars heat up incredibly quickly and they can be very dangerous. So we have to be very aware of that.
Yes, or your pets, right? Let's just not leave anyone in the locked car in the burning hot sun because that temperature absolutely soars. Thank you for your time this morning, Dr. Bryan Beatty, Chairman of General Practice New Zealand.